Hey tubers and tubettes. Title of this little video is called Retirement. Is it for me? Or is it right for me? Or was it the right decision? I haven't titled it yet. But I got the thought of this whole concept about retirement from a new subscriber in a comment on another video. Oh, and speaking of new subscribers, thanks for all the people that subscribed recently. I think we've had over 1,000 people hit the old subscribe button here in the last week. And that's great. Always glad to have new people on board. And I never ask anybody to subscribe. In fact, I tell you, if you don't, I don't blame you. You know, isn't it kind of silly, just on that topic for a second, is that people always go, make sure you hit the like, subscribe, and share button. And then like all of a sudden a big red subscribe thing will come with a finger pointing to it, like you guys don't know how to do it. I always said, you know what, I don't say that because I figure if they like it, they're going to hit the button all on their own. They're big boys and girls. And if they don't, again, I don't blame you. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. But a new subscriber wrote to me a comment on a previous video that I did. And he said something to the effect, I'm going to paraphrase here. He said, okay, I've watched some of your videos, and I watched recently you complaining about, which I do a lot of. He goes, you're like whining about the bug bites and the out of stock and the infrastructure and the lack of food choices. And, you know, I won't waterboard you with all my gripes. But, and he posed this question. He says, okay, so you're happy there. He says, I've watched enough of your videos to know that you're pretty happy and you're doing good, but you've got these complaints also. So he posed what I thought was a very interesting question. He said, all things being equal, would you rather be retired there in the Philippines, which is a third world country with all these things that you don't like, or all things being equal, remember that, would you rather be retired in America? So by all things equal, the way that I'm interpreting that is that I'm over here on $1,500 a month approximately on my budget. And for my $1,500, I have what I consider to be a modern apartment. It's got air conditioning, lights, this, that, the other. It's got all the ovens and stoves and microwaves, so all smart TV, all this hoo-ha. No different really than the US. I drive a scooter as opposed to a car, but I have transportation. I have a girlfriend. And so I'm going to juxtapose we're going to jump over to the United States now, and all things being equal, instead of $1,500, I'm going to have $6,000 a month to live on, $72K a year. I think that's a fair number, about 4 times as much as what I need to live here. And for that $6,000, you know, you get the mortgage, the car, the payment, the insurance, the cable TV, the cell phone, the water bill, the property taxes, the this, the that, the bips, the bops. And I think $5,000, $6,000, somewhere in that neighborhood is a fair number to compare living there for here as far as income. As far as companionships, all things being equal, well, there's certainly no way that I would have a woman that was 30 years younger than me, like May, in the United States if we're going to keep this in any kind of form of reality to it. So more than likely, I'm going to be with a woman that's probably in her late 50s or early 60s. I'm 65, and that would be equal, you know, to what would be happening in America. And what would my options be? What would my retirement life be like in America compared to my retirement life here in the Philippines? And I could hit this thing at so many different levels, but let's just jump ahead a little bit or jump to the side and approach this also. What about retirement, period? What about that? I mean, I couldn't wait to retire. On the flip side of that, my father, who's still alive and well, he's going to be 96 in March, never retired. He loves what he does. He's a real estate broker. And he loves having an office, and he loves having a secretary. and he loves having agents. Now, he doesn't get out and show houses and whip around on the computer. He's 96, but he's still the big dog, right? And he's still the guy that signs the check, and that means the world to him. And so I think there's a lot of guys like my dad that if they retired and completely removed themselves from the workforce, that within 6 months to a year, they would be dead or wish they were. And I think there's some statistics and data that back that up. I haven't thought about it for a long time, and I certainly didn't research it for this video. But you know what I'm saying? There's guys that, like, it's important for them to have a project, to have something going on, to be important, to be recognized, to be the boss, to have influence, to have power. And so for those guys, it begs the question, what would retirement do to them? I'll leave it up to your good judgment to figure that out. Maybe leave me the answer in the comments. So let's just move forward here with my American retirement compared to my Philippines retirement. So we'll go back to America, and I'm living in my little stucco house, and it's on the end of a cul-de-sac, and it's got a 3-car or a 2.5-car garage, and my car is in there. And now I've retired, and I'm knocking down $5-6 grand a month, and I'm with my companion. I'm married to her. She's my girlfriend. Whatever scenario we should make here, and she's going to be about my age. And so what are my options? Let's just say I'm relatively happy with my relationship with this woman, and I don't mind the house. I've got all the creature comforts that I've acquired over the years. But how am I going to spend my day? What's going to happen? And I always thought when I was younger, when I was in my 30s or 40s, I could never project. I could project my thinking to when I retired. And coming to Southeast Asia at that stage of the game never entered my mind. I was still figuring I was going to do my 45 years, 50 years of work, collect whatever pension, retirement, 401k money I've got coming to me, and then I was going to go do life. And I always thought that it would be in an RV, because I've always wanted to go see all the cool stuff. America is such a beautiful country, and it's got so many beautiful, diverse places to go see. You can go to the streets of New York and celebrate New Year's Eve. You can go to the Midwest and just kind of see the flatness of Nebraska. You can see Mount Rushmore. You can go, I can name all these little sites, of course, but you know, Yellowstone, the Grand Canyon, you could go. I'm sure I'm missing a zillion places. So I thought to myself, since I heard that comment, I've been playing a little game inside of my head called Paul's RV trip. And I thought, okay, I've retired at 62. I'm going to keep everything equal, right? I retired at what I call early 62. Another little diversion. I know there's guys, I've been slapped a couple of times when I said I retired early at 62, and they're saying, why is 62 early? I'm 30, I'm 40, I'm 50, I'm retired. I get that. But that's kind of a new phenomenon, okay? It's kind of beyond my thinking that guys that young are retiring, because that just didn't happen in my day. And if it did, I didn't know about it. So that's, I think we're going to just leave that out of the equation. So when I say early, I mean 62, because I'm just a normal schlub that worked his 50, and you know, now I've got my little pension. So Paul's RV trip. So I'm going to take 3 years to travel America, and I'm going to go see Mount Rushmore, and I'm going to go see the geysers at Yellowstone, and I'm going to go to Zion National Park, and I'm going to go to Memphis, Tennessee, and eat me some ribs, and then I'm going to go into Texas and have me some Texas ribs, and then I'm going to go into New Orleans, and I'm going to go to Mardi Gras, and you know, you get the drill. I'm going to go to Florida and go to wherever it is to go in Florida, at Disneyland, I guess. And so my mental picture of this trip is that my 60-year-old companion is going to be sitting next to me in the RV, and we're going to have a dog because I'm a dog lover, and we're going to, make sure that we've got all of our mail handled and the neighbors know about it and the water's been taken care of and the place has got a security sign in front of it, and we've paid for all that stuff. So the house, our domicile, is going to be still standing when we get home from our little odyssey. And we're going to go, I call them campgrounds, but we're going to go from, what are they called? Like Good Sam places where you pull in, and we're just going to call them campgrounds. You drive your RV for 100 miles or 200 miles or 500 miles or whatever you can bear that day, and you're looking out the window and you're talking to the same person now that you've been talking to all your life. This is where the dog comes in really handy. And finally, you pull into your first campsite and you hook up the RV to the electricity and you pay the thing and you bring out the awning and you set up your little barbecue and you set up your lawn chairs and you park your ass outside, and no matter what, the snoopy people in all the other RVs, one or two of them are going to wander over, and one of them's going to be some woman the same age as the woman I'm with, but she's going to have bright red hair, and her husband's going to be some guy wearing plaid pants and a Hawaiian shirt. And they're going to invite themselves over. They're going to introduce themselves, and they're just going to be the nicest people. And we're going to sit down and we're just going to talk. And what are we going to talk about? Well, we're going to talk about the weather, and we're going to talk about our Winnebago and what model we got and how much it cost and where we've been and where we're going and what we're going to do. And, oh, what kind of dog is that? That's a beautiful dog. We have a dog. We have grandkids. Do you have grandkids? And what about Donald Trump? And what about Nancy Pelosi? And did you see this? And did you see that? And then after a day or two at the campsite, we're going to hop in our faithful Winnebago and we're going to continue on through Utah, and we're going to go into Colorado, and we're pretty much going to do the same thing. We're going to go see all these cool things that I've always wanted to see. I've always wanted to see, Yosemite. I've always wanted to see Vermont and Connecticut in the fall. I just love that, just take some beautiful pictures, just soak it in. Go up to Minnesota, do some fishing, and, good trip, right? Good time. But we're going to be at the same campsite with different people, all saying the same things, all dressed alike, all looking alike, all homogenized. And somewhere along the line in this trip, we're going to have a problem. It's inevitable, right? The car is going to break down, or the Winnebago is going to break down. It's going to have a flat tire, it's going to overheat, or something's going to go wrong. And what are we going to do when that happens? Well, we're going to bring out our cell phones, which everybody's got, and they work everywhere in America except for certain places. And in those certain places, they always seem to have these call boxes on the freeway, if that's where you're at. And long story short, and if that doesn't work, we can go to a guy's house and knock on the door, I guess, and use his landline. Or a car will drive by and they'll help us. And bottom line is, we will be rescued. Someone will come along, AAA or this one or that one, and we're gonna get the old Winnebago is gonna get towed in and taken to a shop and all this stuff, and that's gonna be kind of like stressful. That's gonna be kind of unpleasant. This isn't fun, but it's okay because we've got Good Sam Club, we've got insurance, we've got AAA, and at the end of the day, it's gonna cost me $500, which is my deductible from all of these guys combined, and that's not gonna be a big blow to me. It's just going to take a little bite, and we kind of figured for this anyway, and we're going to spend 3 days in a motel, and finally the Winnebago gets fixed and we're back on the road. Remember that story. So now we go and we continue on, and somewhere along the line on this trip, at stop number 43, where the guy with the plaid pants and the Hawaiian shirt with a different name is going to come over and start telling me about his dog and what he did for a living and what a big deal he was. And his wife with the orange hair is going to be talking to my companion, and they're going to be showing pictures of the grandkids. I'm going to say, boy, this is like Groundhog Day. Remember that one? So now I'm going to give a timeline on this little RV trip of 3 years, because that's how long I've lived in the Philippines. So now my 3 years is up. I have been there. I have done that, boys and girls. I have seen it all. I have traveled America. I have tasted different food. I've experienced different cultures. I've been through different weather. I've seen different geography. The roads have been perfect. It's been great. My cell phone always worked. I could always get a cheeseburger or a patty melt or a pizza. And if I felt like fine dining one night with my 60-year-old companion, we could do that. Or we could just rough it out and make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches there in our mobile home. And so, or motor home. And so now we're home. Now we're back. And the trip is over. And it's October. And Halloween comes and goes. And then Thanksgiving comes and goes. And a couple of days after Thanksgiving, I find myself sitting at the table with a task because my companion, I'm going to call her, has made friends with 942 other women, all her age, and they all have grandkids. And you know what? She's collected all their names and addresses and phone numbers because, gosh darn it, they're all so friendly. And it's Christmas card time. And I'm going to have to sit at the table now and stuff the envelopes while my companion reviews. Oh, remember Bob and Sally? Oh, yeah. Oh, you don't? Well, they were the ones in Tennessee. And blah, 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 blah. And I'm going to listen to that while I stuff the envelopes for her there at the kitchen table. And after about 4 minutes, the whole conversation, everything coming out of her mouth is going to sound like zzz, and it's a week later. And we've all settled in. The holidays are over, whatever. And it's like, now what do I do? Well, I guess I'll buy an old boat so I can fix it up. Now, I've never had a boat before, but I'm going to buy an old boat and I'm going to pull it into the garage because I need a project. I need something to do. And more importantly, I need a place where me and the dog can escape from that companion that likes to talk so much. And we can just sit out there and sand the boat. And I can talk to this dog and say, well, thank God for just a little peace and quiet. And then my neighbor, my goofy neighbor, is going to wander over and go, hey, what you doing? And I'm going to look up because it's pretty obvious, you know, hello, Captain Obvious. Well, I'm sanding the boat. And then my neighbor is going to say, oh, yeah. What gauge sandpaper you got going there? And it's about the time where I'm going to look at the dog and say, you know, I wish you were an attack dog. I'm going to have to endure this because he's got nothing going on. He's trying to escape his companion. And he sees me as the easy target. And then, to be honest with you, boys and girls, I just don't know what else I would do. I'd have my 6K coming in. I've got the big trip behind me. I guess I've got my little hobby. I guess I could volunteer and do some stuff. But me, knowing me, it would get to be pretty ho-hum. Now, I'm really good at doing nothing. I mean, I had no love affair with my job. I made a good living while I worked. But I'll never forget the day that I was sitting around with my best friend, Gary. And we were both single at the time. We were both still working at the time. And we were in my house. And we had just finished watching some series. He was crashing at my place because his house was being renovated or something. And so we hung out for 3 days. He used one of the extra rooms. And we were watching TV and we were talking about work. And then we were talking about retirement. And we talked about, well, we would do this and we would do that. We would go here and we would buy this and bop, 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 bop. And he goes, what's the most important thing to you, Paul, about retiring? And my reply, we both repeat this to each other all the time when we talk, is the biggest thing is that I won't have to show up. I'm really sick of showing up. It gets to the point when I was working, and especially towards the end, where I dreaded taking a shower. Now, I like taking showers. You feel fresh, you feel clean, the water feels good, you get yourself all scrubbed up, you start a fresh day. But I resented the fact that I was in the shower because after I got out of the shower, I had to shave. And after I shaved, I had to put on a tie. And then I had to look at, make sure that I was on time. Where's my keys? Have I got this? Did I have that? Did I bring the report home? Do I have to take? Okay, so, and then how's traffic going to be? And you got to maneuver in, and you get there, and then you walk in, and you go. I went and did what I didn't like doing for 10, 12 hours, and then come home, and that was that. And he goes, I get it. It really wasn't the job, anymore, because that went on autopilot. But it was the fact that you had to show up and be somewhere. And I got to the point where I just didn't ever want to show up again. So now that's kind of my outlook of what my retired life on my $6,000 with my nice infrastructure and my available hamburgers and, my never a brownout, never any bug bites, never any issues that I gripe and whine about here in the Philippines. But that would be my existence in the States in my retirement years. That would be it. And then I come over here to the Philippines. Now let's review that. Well, I can tell you this, after 30 hours of no sleep on a flight because one got canceled, and I won't even go into all that drill. But I landed in the Philippines, and within 24 hours, I was propositioned by prostitutes, and I was chased around the block by a ladyboy. I never had that happen to me in Las Vegas. And then I made my way down here to Dumaguete, and I've got to tell you that through the first 6 months was a big trial and error. It was a real culture shock. And yeah, man, it was like, wow, these streets suck. It's hot. They don't have any food I like to eat. And this is going on and that's going on. But there was this whole new vibe, and it was really a good shock for my system. And I kind of got decompressed, and I got adjusted to it. And I have my moments out here where, in fact, yesterday I was having a little wig out where May was all concerned looking, Nothing we did yesterday worked. She knows this look I get on my face. And she's like, coffee? You want any coffee? Because that soothes me down every time. And so, but I won't go there. And so, like the first 6 months here in the Philippines, I went through this big major adjustment period. And I was trying to get used to it and decide if I liked it or not. And I did. And remember when we called from the phone in the Winnebago or whatever we were driving, and they all came out and they fixed us because everything was really easy in the States, right? Well, I can tell you an incident about month number 7 or 8. I was with my first girlfriend, who will remain nameless because I'm sure she wouldn't want me telling her name on this. But we were coming home from some little soiree we had been to, and we were on what's called the Bacong-Valencia Highway. And I think we were out at about 10 o'clock at night. And I shouldn't say never, but I rarely go out past dark. But again, we had attended some function or party, and we were on our way home. And we're on the Bacong-Valencia Highway. And what's so special about that? Well, it's kind of a bypass type of road, especially 2.5 years ago. It's changed a lot now, but back then it was mostly just desolate, and it had houses, but I don't think it had but 1 or 2 businesses on it. And it was just kind of a shortcut kind of bypass road. And we're humping back to the apartment from Bacong to Valencia, and boom, I get a flat tire at 10 o'clock at night. And I can tell you, boys and girls, there's no cell phones working out here. There's no call box. And I'm on a rental bike, of all things. And normally, I could call the rental company and say, hey, come fix this, but they're closed. So my options were really, really thin. I didn't have all these creature comforts that I had in America. Remember, the Winnebago broke down and we got towed and we stayed for the motel and everything. Well, there's no motel to stay at. There's nowhere to camp out. The walk home's like 7, 8, 9 miles uphill, and I got to abandon the bike, which is surely going to get stolen if I do that. And so I'm standing there and I'm just kind of like, and there's no public transportation going by. There's no jeepneys, there's no tricycles, they're all done. It's 10 o'clock at night, and this is on a little road that just doesn't get much traffic, at least back then. And what do you know? My girlfriend at the time said, don't worry about it. And she just walked down a little bit because she saw a light on in a house. And I thought, oh, okay, she's gonna see if these people will give us a ride home or call somebody or let us use their phone. You know, it was still kind of new. And she said, okay, bring the bike over here. He's a vulcanizer. I said, what's a vulcanizer? I'd seen the signs before. Well, a vulcanizer repairs flat tires. That's what they do. And because tires pop out here left and right. So there's all kinds of vulcanizers around. It's tire repair. And it's 10 o'clock, pushing now 10:30, 10:45. And I just kind of take the bike and slide it backwards over to this guy's driveway. And he's got no shirt on, but he's been sitting up. You know, he wasn't asleep. And they chicka back and forth. That's my girlfriend and this guy. And then the wife comes out and she joins in. Everybody's real friendly. And he hikes this bike up and he takes the wheel off and he lights this thing on fire that I've never watched before. And he's melting plastic and he gets the thing off and he's dipping the tire in water and finding out where the leak is. He's going through all this stuff and he puts a patch on it and then he pours this stuff on that he heated it, that seals it. And in the meanwhile, the wife has gone and fetched my girlfriend and I each a glass of water and brought out an extra chair for me to put my fat ass in. So I just sat there and smoked cigarettes and watched this guy fix my tire for like, I don't know, almost an hour for everything to get done. And so now I'm realizing how lucky we are that this is going on. And I'm thinking to myself, God, I hope I have enough money to pay this guy. Because I've only got like 50 or 60 bucks in my pocket. And I'm still in American mode. Even after 6 or 7 months, I just still can't, you know, my thinking is still back there in the RV. And so this guy works for, I'm going to call it an hour, fixing my bike, putting it all back together, patching the tire. Fills it up with air. He's got a little compressor. He comes out with that bad boy. Got 3 or 4 kids helping him. The whole family's involved in this project. And so I asked my girlfriend, I said, how much is this? And I'm like, thinking I don't have no cash. And and she looks at me and she says, 40 pesos. I said, what? And she says, 40 pesos. That's 80 cents. I said, yeah, but it's like midnight now. And this guy brought out all of his stuff just to do me. Normally he would have this stuff, I've seen it before. He'd be set up already and people would be coming in, you know, one after the other and getting their tires fixed and open for business. But this guy's way past that. And I said, that's it? And she said, yeah, that's it. And so I think I gave him 200 and he was very grateful for it. And I was very grateful for it. I mean, come on, I gave him $4. And he basically, I don't know, he didn't save my life, but he sure, I don't know what we would have done. I guess we would have just tried to push the bike as far as we could, or, you know, wave down a car if we could, or a truck if they happened to come by. And, but that was our experience with a problem compared to how the experience with the problem in America, my hypothetical RV would have played out. And so at the end of the day, I still don't have to show up, be it in the Philippines or in America. But when I went to work, I used to call it Groundhog Day. I would say every day is just like the other. I wake up, I brush my teeth, I take the shower, I put on the tie, I go to the job, I sit in my cubicle, I do my thing, I make my money, I get back in the car, I go home, I watch TV, I'm by myself, pop, pop, pop. It's Groundhog Day. Well, now, let's be retired. I'd still be in the box. We wouldn't be driving to another box and then sitting inside of a cubicle. I would have been in, all things being equal, I would be with a companion. That would be acceptable in that culture. And I would be just kind of unchallenged. I wouldn't be pushed. I wouldn't be uncomfortable. I wouldn't be able to even think outside the box because I'm too busy being boxed in. Here, there is no box. The lid's off. I've got my apartment, granted. I've got my companion, granted. Much more enjoyable companionship than America. Yeah, I got bug bites. Yeah, I got third world country issues. Yeah, we got goofy stuff. Yeah, it changes and it gets uncomfortable. But what's wrong with that? What's wrong with being uncomfortable? And you know what? The security blanket that I keep wrapped around me is that, and I know COVID's putting a halt on all this, but we're going to pretend that's over with because that'll be in our rearview mirror soon enough. I can bounce. There's 7,000 islands, man. I can bounce inexpensively and go investigate them. If I ever really get a hankering for better food and better infrastructure and whiz-bang internet, I can go to Vietnam. I've done that. They've got all that. I can go to Indonesia. I've done that. I get all that. Ate great. I ate delicious food in Vietnam, delicious food in Indonesia. I had whiz-bang Wi-Fi. But when I get back, I always want to get back to the Philippines because what it never ever has out here, what I've never experienced once in the Philippines is Groundhog Day. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll talk to you later. Bye.